All right, friends and neighbors. Hey, let's get back to this FreePBX build. So I'm not back to 100% yet, but as they say, the show must go on. So without any further lag in our networks, let's get to the build. So just a reminder about our current setup. We've got 3 VMs going. One holds the FreePBX install. And then we've got 2 other VMs, and one of them is my web interface, but I'll also be running a SIP soft client on there. And then we've got the other VM that we'll use to make a phone call. All right, so other than the base configuration, that's it. I'll show you how to set up the Linphone SIP clients. We're just doing, as I said, the simple configs these days. The only other thing that I did was, because I occasionally had connectivity issues with the VMs and with the clients, I did shut down fail to ban on the FreePBX box. So that's the only change to the config that you've seen so far. Okay, so there we go. Now, Linphone. All right, so this was kind of fun. There is a new way to deploy software in Linux. I don't know how new it is, but it's called an app image, and Linphone comes down in one of these. So I thought I would describe a little bit about what's going on with that, and then I'll actually show you how it works. So app image is sort of it's an actual file, but then you want to run it as an executable, just the same way that Windows does, right? When we have self-extracting archives or when we have an .exe. So this is the attempt on Linux to do that, the same. And there's the link to it, so you can understand a little bit more about app image itself. And in our case, we're just going to download Linphone to downloads and run it from there, and that's fine. But if you're going to keep something around, if it's a regular part of your applications that you're going to run, maybe you want to run it from home applications. That's the actual recommendation from app image. So this error image that you see up here, that's what happened when I try to run this on Ubuntu. And so Ubuntu, it has a couple of issues, and one of them is that it doesn't really understand what an app image is. But we're going to fix that too. Now, just a little bit more about app images themselves. There is there's a couple things that go beyond this. It is tied to Fuse. We'll see that here in a second. But again, it's just an image file, not in the sense that it's a picture, but it's an image of an application that is executable. Now, theoretically, you can set up the properties and just say, allow executing this file as a program. But if that doesn't work, sometimes on Ubuntu, you have to do this install. You have to say install libfuse. Okay, so let's do this. I'll just put this on the screen quick before we go and take a look at our VMs. Fuse, the file system in user space, is an interface for user space programs to export a file system to the Linux kernel. Okay, so you've got the file system really that you are going to be deploying here, and then libfuse provides the implementation for the communication. That's why on the previous slide, let me go back to that. This here. So how do you run an app image file? Well, you could create a mount point, just the same way that you would mount any other file system, right? So that's what they're saying this is. Or you could execute it directly. So you could create a mount point and then mount the app image to that, or you can just say, I'm going to run it directly. So there's a couple of ways to do that. This documentation is out at appimage.org. There we go. All right, is there anything else we want to cover here? No, I think we're good. Let's do this. We're going to take a look at our first VM. So here is FreePBX, right? You're used to seeing this one, and you can see the commands that I issued to do that. But if I exit from this right here and then log back in, we'll be back to our screen. There we go. And so we can see that the server is sitting at 10.0.2.8, and that is where I'm going to browse to. All right, so at this point, we really don't need to talk to FreePBX anymore, at least via this interface, right? This is the VM. We could have, there is a console here, but we're not going to use it. So let's take a look at our first client and the management interface for FreePBX. Okay, so this is the one that I've got everything running in. Now we'll touch back on a couple of these things. Here is the interface. All right, so when I log into this, you get your management interface. We got a couple of error messages here, and that's only because I haven't done some of the management tasks, right? I haven't talked about I haven't done my blacklist, I haven't done my whitelist, I haven't set up voicemail or anything at this point. But what we do have is our extensions. And we've got a couple on this one. Well, we might make one a little bit later. But as a reminder, go away. So if I want to edit one of these, all right. Now we've got, this is already tied to a phone number, right? So this is Adama, so he's 475-0001, and that's why this shows linked down here. Now, there are a couple of other details that we can take a look at here. I'm just going to point out that there's this password field here and a secret field up here. That'll become important to us later on. But then, of course, there's all the other stuff that you could set up that's associated with this particular account. Okay. If I was to do anything with this account, make any changes, then I would submit and then I would apply the config. But there we have it. That's that. And we've got one other one here, Starbuck. That's the one we'll set up on our second client. All right, now while we're here, this is where I downloaded Lin from. Okay. And when you pull this down, you get, let's see, oh, that's my, that's the actual app right there. So here it is. It comes down in an app image. And what we'll try to do out when we do the second install is we'll try to, run this as a program. And if it doesn't work, because this is another Ubuntu build, then what we'll do is we'll install the libfuse library. Okay. All right, that'll do it there. Now, the other thing that we're hoping for, this machine is already logged in. Now, the screen name is Adama. The phone number is 475-001. That becomes important to us. And you can see we've got a little happy green check mark here. And that tells me that I've actually successfully registered. Now, what does that mean? Well, if we take a look at our SIP captures, we can see that we were attempting, right? We were in the build here. We were doing a whole bunch of attempts, and we were getting, here's the register attempt, and then we were getting 401s. Those are unauthorized. Anything under than a 200 code or a 100, which is something in progress, these are bad. So 400 we couldn't get, 401 we couldn't actually get registered. It wasn't until I dropped the fail to ban, then all of a sudden we get this 200 okay, and this client is now registered. All right, so that's what we've gone through on this one. So remember that SIP is actually a fairly straightforward protocol. There's a couple of what we call methods in SIP, and the first one that you're going to see is the register method. And then you should get something that says, okay, you're registered, and then the server or the PBX in this case will come back and say, these are our options, and then you'll make a call, and we'll see how that works later on. Okay, so let's take a look at the other client. I haven't done anything on that one yet. All right, so first up, we'll take a look at the IP address that we're sitting at here. 10.0.2.100, and we'll make sure that we can ping the server. That's not going to work. Let's try this. There we go. Okay, so now what we need is a client. Now Linphone is free, and so that's a nice thing to remember. They have things that you can buy, of course, but we'll just download the free one. So we're going to go over here. GNU Linux, here it comes. As you can see from my downloads, I was going to do Zoiper, but was having a dickens of a time getting it down to the VMs. But that's of no consequence. Okay, so I don't think we need this anymore. And maybe I already downloaded this, but I don't think I've installed it. But we'll do the whole thing anyway. So here's downloads. Yeah, we did. Alright, so going to properties now and permissions, we're going to allow executing this as a program, and then we'll go ahead and, so I just double clicked, and here it is. Oh, I guess I did have this one in there, but we're going to go ahead and we'll go back to maybe account assistance, and we'll make this one Starbuck. So I guess I've lied to you. Sorry about that. Alright, so we'll make this one, was Starbuck, wasn't it? Starbuck? Starbuck will be the same. Actually, well, we'll go ahead and put it in there. Okay, so the SIP domain. This can be a DNS lookup. We're just using the IP address here so that we know where because we know where the server is. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. Remember that I showed you there were 2 passwords. Let's try something here. I think I did all lowercase. Like that. Now here is also where we can set up our support. I prefer that my signaling protocols run on TCP. That's pretty standard, and we'll do that. Okay, so you can see that, let's see, we'll uncheck Adama, and so you can see we've got a little exclamation point here. So it's not real happy with us right now, and that's because there are two flavors here of password. In addition, you can see right here that it says Starbuck at 10.0.2.8. Okay. So we need to fix this, and the way we're going to fix this, we could delete this client and start over, but we were just winging it when we put them in there. But we're going to see how to fix this. So let's go back over to our web interface on for FreePBX. Hey, you know what? Hold on a second. Let's do this instead. So let's install Wireshark, and we'll watch what's happening from the perspective of this client. So I'm going to run Wireshark now, and then we'll see what our client is trying to do. And I'm just going to filter on SIP so we can see that there's stuff happening there. Now this is a conversation between 10.8 and 10.7. That's not me. Now if I want to get fancy with Wireshark, I could say and ip.addr equals I think I was 100 here. Okay, and there we're getting that unauthorized stuff. Okay, so that's what's happening right now, and that's what we're trying to fix. So let's go over here. We'll stop this. We'll just leave that on the screen. All right, so let's go back to our extensions, and we're going to edit this now. That is a really annoying screen that pops up all the time. All right, so we're going to go to Starbuck now. Yes, I get it. Thank you. Here we go. Good Lord. Okay. So here's Starbuck, and we've got this secret right here. Now, I didn't bother to add that in there or figure that out. So what I'm going to do is I am going to set up a new user. But what I'm going to do is say, I'm just going to say it's the phone number. Oh, sorry, we're going to create a new user. We're going to do this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to say typing in Starbuck and 0002. Now, when you're dealing with clients, if they're soft clients, you have a lot of flexibility with your configurations. It's very common in telephony systems to have the password something very, very simple, sometimes even the extension maybe with an additional digit, because if it's a hard phone, you have limited ability to have fancy characters or anything else from the physical interface. Okay, so I think we'll do that. Submit, and then we'll apply the config. And once it's done reloading, we'll go back over to our Starbuck client, which is on the other VM. All right, there we go. Let's go over to the other VM. All right, we'll minimize this. We'll minimize this for right now. All right, we're going to cancel this, and what I'm going to do is we're going to say, hold on a sec, I want to use another account here, and this time my identity, yes. This time my username is going to be 4750002, and the display name will stick to Starbuck here. And the SIP domain 10.02.8. And now the password 0002. We're using TCP. Remember that I set up TCP when I did the FreePBX SIP settings, and then we'll use this one. Oh, let's we gotta tell it we're gonna use Starbuck here. Alright, we got Starbuck straightened out there, but there is something that I forgot to show you down here. So it's easy to use the account assistant, but if you have a bunch of changes or things like that, one of the things that kind of screwed you up, and it took me a second to remember this, is that under preferences you have all these accounts that are listed. And because I had made so many changes, I had a lot of accounts there, and it was using the wrong addresses. In addition, sometimes Linphone just sort of latches on to stuff and doesn't want to let it go, and so just be aware of that. Okay, so I got the passwords changed. We got a couple of accounts. Let's go ahead and try to make a phone call. I'm going to start a capture here. We'll continue without saving. And we'll just make sure that we are in. There we go. That looks pretty good. Oh dear. Well, that is a different account. We'll go ahead and try to make a phone call here. We'll see what happens. So we're going to call Starbuck. Whoops. Try this again. And we'll call. Oh, that's a nice sound. Okay. Well, there's our call from Adama. So here we are talking. Let's go see what our capture is doing. So here we have, there's a bunch of SIP stuff. Okay, good. Very good. So let's see. We are capturing on the Adama side. And you know, maybe just for fun, let's see, let's get rid of this filter and we'll see everything. We can see that we got a bunch of RTP there, and let's go ahead and hang up the phone. And let's go ahead and hang up the phone. We'll do that. There we go. And we got some more SIP stuff, and we'll stop this capture. Okay. So what do we expect in a SIP call? Well, initially, aside from the hijinks of that Linphone is going through, here we know that the Linphone is actually authenticated. What this is going on, this looks like it's trying to authenticate all the accounts that are on the client. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. But if we go down a little bit, we can see that here's our SIP options. And we're looking for a phone call here pretty quick. And there is our SIP invite. That's actually a phone call, and that is the URI identity for Starbug 475.0.0.0.2 at the call server. There we have it. And so then we go back and forth a little bit, and we can see that we've got some status. So the two statuses that we're looking for, and this is a 100 and a 200. 100 is provisional, it's trying, or something's going on in the call as we're waiting, because this has to go up to the SIP server and then back down to the other phone. Now the session descriptor protocol here, this is to negotiate the parameters for RTP, and RTP is where we are next. So there we have it. Now this is UDP and a completely different set of port numbers than is being used for the SIP conversation. So we have RTP, and if we're under normal operations, what we should see is that periodically we have RTCP, and RTCP is the real-time control protocol, which is data about the RTP stream. And then when we hung up, what you should see is that we've got SIP buys. This is another method from SIP that says I'm ready to be done, and this is just the graceful closing of the call. Well, I think that about does it. So that's Linphone, and that is the SIP server side of things too. And then of course we've got our capture. So just as a reminder, what I ran into is that there are several ways to configure the client. The best course of action is to create your aliases for the same user and then just use the same password everywhere, I think. I was using the transport of TCP. Don't forget those preferences if you're using Linphone. And this is also, I guess, a friendly little reminder about the format that a lot of clients want you to use. Now, what do we want to see? Well, initially, you want to see that you're going to register. And that register, we want a status code of 200. You can see those right in the RFC. And then after that, you'll negotiate the options that the client server are willing to use with each other. And then if you make a phone call, that'll be the invite. And then you'll see SDP followed by all your RTP stuff. The RTP is the actual voice conversation. And then again, you'll tear down with SIP. Remember that RTP has a companion, and that is RTCP, which is data about the RTP stream. Well, I think we did it. So the Linphone works with FreePBX. Just be careful when you're setting it up. Just make sure that you think about your accounts beforehand, and don't do like I did, where you're just trying to get some accounts created. So this was Linphone inside VMs, and FreePBX was inside VMs as well. The protocols that we saw here that all go together in this are SIP, RTP, and RTCP. If you want to know more about each one of those, I'll talk more about them periodically as we go through, but I've done other videos on those protocols specifically. Well, there we have it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe if I helped, and may those SIP, RTP, and RTCP packets always reach their destinations.